In today's story, we'll explore an alternate timeline where Mace Windu sensed Anakin Skywalker's betrayal in Revenge of the Sith. I hope you enjoy. Now let's dive in. Our story begins on Coruscant. The night air of Coruscant screamed past the shattered windows of the Chancellor's office. Lightning crackled and hissed, arcing wildly from the twisted fingers of Chancellor Palpatine as he writhed beneath the blade of Mace Windu. "The oppression of the Sith will never return. You have lost," Windu said, his voice steady but heavy with finality. His purple lightsaber hovered inches from Palpatine's throat, its glow reflecting in the Sith Lord's yellowed eyes. The Force churned violently around them. Windu felt it clearly now. Palpatine was no longer pretending, no longer hiding behind masks and words. This was Darth Sidious, the architect of the war, the shadow behind every death. At that moment, the doors burst open. Anakin Skywalker rushed into the room, his breath ragged, his eyes wide with panic. His gaze flicked between the fallen Chancellor and the ignited lightsaber poised to strike. "Anakin, I told you the Jedi were plotting to take over." Palpatine wheezed, his voice suddenly weak, pleading. "Don't kill me, please." Anakin took a step forward. "He must stand trial," he said urgently. "The Senate will decide his fate." "The Senate?" Windu snapped, never taking his eyes off Sidious. "He controls the Senate and the courts. He's too dangerous to be left alive." Anakin shook his head, desperation clawing at his voice. "It's not the Jedi way. He must live." For a heartbeat, Windu hesitated. Not because of Palpatine, but because of Anakin. Then he felt it. A tremor in the Force. A dark current swelling behind him. Windu's instincts screamed. He turned just as Anakin ignited his lightsaber. Blue met purple in a blinding flash of energy as Windu barely managed to block the strike. The impact sent a shockwave through the room, scattering debris and cracking the marble floor. "Skywalker!" Windu roared. "Stand down!" But Anakin didn't stop. His face was twisted with fear, anguish, and fury. He attacked again and again, each strike wild yet powerful, driven by raw emotion rather than discipline. Windu deflected the blows with difficulty, his Vapad form feeding on Anakin's fury, yet even he felt the danger. This wasn't just a Jedi Knight attacking him. This was the Chosen One standing on the edge of the abyss. Palpatine watched in silence now, his lips curling into a thin, satisfied smile. "Anakin," Windu said, straining under another blow, "this is treason." "It's not," Anakin shouted. "You're taking him away from me." "From me." Those words echoed in Windu's mind with chilling clarity. Then Palpatine struck. A surge of Force lightning erupted from the Sith Lord's hands, more focused, more violent than before. Windu turned just in time to raise his blade, but the combined assault, Anakin's pressure and Sidious's lightning, overwhelmed him. The blast hurled Windu backward, the window shattered completely. For an instant, Windu hung suspended in the air, Coruscant's endless skyline reflected in his eyes. He reached for the Force, fighting to anchor himself. But the lightning struck again. He fell. The wind howled as he plummeted past towers and traffic lanes, the city a blur of light and motion. Pain exploded through his body as consciousness slipped in and out. At the last possible moment, something solid slammed into him. A civilian speeder lurched violently. "What in the world?" the pilot shouted as the craft swerved out of traffic, alarms blaring. Windu lay sprawled across the hull, barely conscious, his cloak torn. The speeder descended rapidly, skimming into the lower levels before crashing onto a landing platform in a shower of sparks. The civilian rushed out, eyes wide in disbelief. Hey, are you okay?" He froze when he saw the face. "A Jedi?" Windu tried to speak, but darkness claimed him. Far above, in the Chancellor's office, the galaxy changed forever, and no one noticed the Jedi Master who refused to fall. Sound came first, a low hum, power conduits, distant engines reverberating through layers of durasteel and stone. Mace Windu stirred, pain radiating through every limb as if his body had been shattered and reassembled incorrectly. His eyes opened. The ceiling above him was unfamiliar, low, stained, threaded with exposed wiring that flickered dimly. The air smelled of recycled ozone. He tried to move and immediately regretted it. Agony flared through his ribs and spine, forcing a sharp breath from his lips. "You're awake." The voice was cautious but calm. Windu turned his head slowly. A man stood near the doorway, holding a small medkit, his clothes worn and grease-stained. He looked no older than middle-aged, with tired eyes that carried more concern than fear. "Easy," the man said. "You took quite the fall." Windu's memory came rushing back in fragments, lightning, blue and purple blades. Anakin's face twisted in desperation, the shattered window. "Where am I?" Windu asked, his voice hoarse. "My apartment," the man replied. He hesitated, then added, "Name's Omar Tiller." Windu searched the Force instinctively. It answered, but weakly. His body was damaged, his focus fractured. Yet he felt no immediate threat from the man. "How did I get here?" Windu asked. Omar exhaled, setting the medkit down. "I was flying home from a late shift when you landed on my speeder." He gave a short, disbelieving laugh. "Nearly killed us both. I recognized the robes. Figured leaving you there wasn't an option." "You could have just left me," Windu said. Omar shook his head. "Didn't feel right." Windu closed his eyes briefly. Hours had passed. He could feel it. The Force around Coruscant felt wrong, heavier, like a suffocating shroud. "What has happened?" Windu asked quietly. Omar's expression darkened. "A lot." He moved to the window and pulled back a curtain just enough to reveal the glow of hollow screens from nearby towers. Every screen displayed the same symbol, the Imperial crest. "Jedi were declared traitors," Omar said. "Emergency powers. Clone troopers turned on the temple. I watched gunships flying toward it. Fires burned all night." Windu's breath caught. "The temple, attacked, occupied. Anyone who survived is being hunted." Omar looked back at him. "And Chancellor Palpatine?" "He's Emperor now. Reorganized the Republic into a galactic empire." Windu sat up despite the pain, anger flaring through him like a burning star. The Force rippled violently in response, rattling objects in the room. "No," Windu said. "This cannot be." But when he reached out again, really reached out, he felt it. Jedi presences extinguished across the galaxy. Fear, confusion, death. The Force itself seemed to cry out, then fall eerily silent. Darkness was winning. Windu clenched his jaw. "Anakin," Omar stepped closer. "If you're wondering why I didn't report you, I used to work at the Jedi Temple." Windu looked up sharply. "Mechanic," Omar continued. "Power systems, hangars, that sort of thing. The Jedi treated me with respect, talked to me like I mattered. Whatever story the Empire's selling, I don't buy it." For a moment, Windu said nothing. Then he inclined his head slightly. "You have my gratitude," he said. Something stirred in the Force. Faint, familiar, a presence he knew well. Then another. Windu swung his legs off the bed, ignoring Omar's protest. "I must leave," Windu said. "In that condition?" Omar protested. "There are others alive," Windu replied. "I can feel them." He pulled his cloak tight around him, obscuring his identity, and moved toward the door. As he stepped into the polluted glow of the lower levels, Windu felt it clearly now. A beacon amid the darkness. The Jedi Temple. Broken, burning, still calling. And Mace Windu answered. The Jedi Temple rose above Coruscant like a wounded giant. Once its spires had pierced the sky as symbols of peace and balance. Now they stood scorched and scarred, smoke still curling from blackened stone. Republic gunships hovered near the upper levels, their searchlights sweeping methodically across the structure. Mace Windu moved through the shadows of the lower city, his pain muted by purpose. Every step toward the temple tightened the knot in his chest. The force here was thick with echoes, fear, betrayal, last stands fought in hallways that had once rung with laughter and debate. He slipped inside through a service access used by temple staff long ago. The doors were cracked open, bent inward by blaster fire. The smell hit him first. Burned flesh, ozone, ash. Bodies lay scattered across the floor, Jedi in torn robes, lightsabers extinguished beside them. Some looked like they had died defending younglings. Others had never drawn their blades at all. Windu stopped, lowering his head. So many. He pressed forward, every step heavier than the last. Memories assaulted him. Anakin training in these halls, younglings sparring under watchful masters, council debates that now felt like echoes from another lifetime. Then he heard it. Footsteps. 2 sets. Measured. Careful. Windu's hand went to his lightsaber hilt as he surged forward, rounding a corner with the Force ready to strike. The figures turned. Master Windu? Obi-Wan Kenobi froze, his eyes widening in disbelief. Beside him, Yoda leaned heavily on his cane, his ears lowering in shock. You survived, Obi-Wan breathed. So it seems, Windu replied. Relief washed through all 3 of them, sharp and unexpected. For the first time since the fall, the Force felt steadier. They moved quickly, regrouping in the council chamber. Consoles flickered weakly, many smashed or scorched. We've just deactivated the temple distress signal, Obi-Wan said. It was luring surviving Jedi back here. Windu closed his eyes briefly. I let this happen. Silence fell. Windu spoke again, his voice heavy. This is my failure. I underestimated him. I sensed the darkness in Anakin, and still I allowed him close. Obi-Wan shook his head. Anakin made his own choices. Clouded the Force was, Yoda said softly, but not ended our chances. Windu looked up. You believe we can still stop him? Yoda's gaze hardened. If Sidious lives, darkness will grow beyond undoing. Obi-Wan straightened. Then we divide our efforts. The plan formed quickly, born of necessity rather than hope. I'll find Anakin, Obi-Wan said. I must put a stop to this. And Sidious? Windu asked. Together, Yoda said, turning to him. End this, we must. Windu ignited his lightsaber briefly, the familiar hum grounding him. Then it ends tonight. As they parted ways, Windu paused, looking back at the temple one last time. The Order was in ruins, but the Jedi were not yet extinct, not while even one of them still stood. The Senate building loomed at the heart of Coruscant, its vast dome glowing like a false star against the night sky. Once a symbol of democracy, it now pulsed with a darker authority. Clone guards, Imperial banners draped where Republic sigils once hung. Mace Windu and Yoda moved like phantoms through the lower corridors, guided by the Force and by memory. Security checkpoints were bypassed, patrols avoided. Sidious had grown bold. He believed the Jedi broken. He was wrong. They entered the Senate chamber together. At its center, seated upon the Chancellor's repulsor platform, Emperor Palpatine waited. He did not rise. He did not reach for a weapon. His hands rested calmly on the armrests, his expression one of mild surprise, almost delight. Well, Palpatine crooned, yellow eyes flicking between them. I must say, I expected ghosts. His gaze lingered on Windu. You are most persistent, Master Windu. I watched you fall. And yet, Windu said coldly, you failed. Palpatine smiled wider. Failed? Look around you. The Jedi are extinct, the Republic reborn. Your order is gone." Neither Jedi answered. In perfect unison, Yoda and Windu ignited their lightsabers. Green and purple flooded the chamber with light. Palpatine sighed theatrically. "So be it." With a shriek of laughter, he sprang from his throne. Twin red blades snapped to life in his hands, spinning as he hurtled toward them with impossible speed. The clash was immediate, violent. Palpatine struck like a storm, his attacks a blur of crimson arcs. Windu met him head-on, Varpad feeding on the Sith's fury, while Yoda darted and leapt, his blade flashing with surgical precision. The chamber exploded into chaos. Palpatine's laughter echoed as he drove them backward, Force lightning crackling from his fingertips between strikes. Windu absorbed the energy, redirecting it, while Yoda deflected bolts mid-air with effortless grace. With a scream of rage, Palpatine unleashed a shockwave that shattered the floor beneath them. The duel spilled into the Senate rotunda. Hundreds of repulsor pods rose from their moorings as Palpatine tore them free with the Force, hurling them like meteors. Windu leapt from platform to platform, deflecting debris with his blade, while Yoda bounded impossibly high, landing atop a moving pod and springing again. "This is your future," Palpatine roared, flinging another pod. "Endless order." Windu landed hard, pain flaring through his still healing body, but he pushed forward, every strike measured, relentless. Each time their blades locked, he could feel it. Sidious was powerful, but strained. Yoda closed in from the flank, forcing Palpatine back, pressing him between them. For the first time, the Emperor's grin faltered. "You are impertinent," he snarled, lightning erupting in all directions. The rotunda shook. Debris drifted through the air, repulsor pods crushed and smoking where they had collided with stone and durasteel. The chamber echoed with the hum of lightsabers. Darth Sidious stood at its center, robes torn, breath coming heavier than before. For the first time in decades, the Dark Lord of the Sith was being pushed back. Mace Windu advanced with relentless focus, his purple blade a living conduit of Sidious's own fury. Varpad sang through his body, every strike sharper, faster, fueled by the darkness Sidious could no longer fully control. Yoda moved like a whisper at the edges of the fight, appearing, vanishing, striking with perfect timing. Every feint forced Sidious to overextend. Every retreat drew him closer to exhaustion. "You cannot defeat me," Sidious snarled, hurling a wave of force lightning that tore chunks from the rotunda walls. Windu absorbed the blast, his blade flaring bright as he redirected the energy harmlessly into the ceiling. "You've already lost," Windu said. "You just don't know it yet." Sidious screamed and lunged. The clash was thunderous, lightsabers locked, crimson pressing against purple as Sidious poured everything into the strike. Windu felt the strain ripple through his injured body, but he held. The Force surged around them, screaming in protest. Then Yoda struck, a precise, devastating blow, not to kill, but to unbalance. His green blade sliced through Sidious's guard, forcing the Sith Lord to twist away just in time. It was the opening. Windu moved. In one fluid motion, faster than thought, his blade swept through the air. Purple light cut cleanly through flesh and bone. Sidious froze. His eyes widened in disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered. The Dark Lord of the Sith fell apart, his body collapsing in two lifeless halves as the echo of his scream faded into nothing. Silence followed. The Force exhaled. Windu stood motionless, chest heaving, staring at the remains of the greatest evil the galaxy had known. For a long moment, he felt nothing at all. Then relief. Yoda extinguished his blade, his ears drooping with exhaustion. "Ended, the Sith are," he said softly. Windu deactivated his lightsaber and bowed his head. At too great a cost. Alarms began to wail throughout the building. Troopers would come soon. "Leave we must," Yoda said. Windu nodded, but his thoughts were already elsewhere. Anakin. Somewhere in the galaxy, another battle was reaching its own terrible conclusion, and the fate of the Chosen One was still undecided. On the molten planet of Mustafar, the lava river roared beneath them. Obi-Wan Kenobi stood on the blackened slope above the molten river, his robe singed, his breath heavy. Below him, Anakin Skywalker balanced on a drifting platform of scorched metal, his chest rising and falling as rage and exhaustion warred within him. The heat was unbearable. The air itself shimmered. "It's over, Anakin," Obi-Wan said, his voice strained but steady. "I have the high ground." Anakin looked up at him, eyes burning with fury and rage. The words barely registered. All he saw was another obstacle, another thing standing between him and the power he believed he needed. "You underestimate my power," Anakin shouted. "Don't try it," Obi-Wan warned, dread tightening his chest. Anakin leapt. The Force hurled him skyward, blade raised for the killing strike. For a heartbeat, he seemed unstoppable. Then Obi-Wan moved. One precise arc. The blue blade met flesh. Anakin screamed as his body twisted mid-air, severed limbs scattering as he crashed down the slope toward the lava's edge. He struck the ground hard, rolling to a stop just short of the molten river. Obi-Wan froze. The sound of Anakin's screams filled the air as he laid on the hot gravel. The once great warrior writhed, hatred and agony tearing from his throat. Obi-Wan looked down at Anakin. "You were the Chosen One," he said, his voice breaking. "You were meant to destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness." Anakin's eyes, still burning yellow, locked onto him. "I hate you," Anakin screamed. Obi-Wan turned away, tears streaming down his face. He couldn't watch him suffer. He couldn't bear the sound. But then, the Force shifted. The rage was fading. The darkness that had fueled Anakin was unraveling, replaced by pain, regret, and fear. His screams weakened, his movements slowed. He was losing consciousness. Obi-Wan stopped. His hand trembled as he reached out with the Force. The flames around Anakin sputtered, then died, smothered by sheer will. Smoke rose from the charred ground as Obi-Wan turned back. "I won't leave you," he whispered. Carefully, painfully, he descended the slope. The heat scorched his skin as he lifted Anakin's broken body into his arms. There was still a pulse, weak but present. Obi-Wan carried him to Padme's ship, where C-3PO and R2-D2 had already brought her aboard. She lay unconscious on the medical table, her breathing shallow but steady. He placed Anakin beside her. For a long moment, Obi-Wan simply stood there, staring at the two people he loved most in the galaxy, both broken by the same war. Then he turned to the cockpit. The ship lifted from Mustafar, engines roaring as it broke through the ash-choked sky and leapt into hyperspace. Stars stretched into lines of light. Obi-Wan opened a secure channel. "Master Yoda, Master Windu," he said quietly. "My mission is complete, but I have Anakin. He's unconscious. I'm taking them to Polis Massa." There was silence. Then Windu's voice, tight with disbelief. "You saved him?" "I couldn't let him die," Obi-Wan replied. Yoda exhaled slowly. "Heavy, this burden will be." Obi-Wan stared ahead, grief and resolve locked together. "He's still my brother." Polis Massa drifted in silence, its white corridors lit softly as med-droids worked without pause. Padme Amidala lay on a medical bed, her hand clenched tightly around the sheets as pain and fear surged through her. Obi-Wan stood nearby, unable to look away. "She's losing the will to live," a droid warned. "No," Obi-Wan said firmly. "She's stronger than that." Moments later, two cries pierced the stillness. Twins. Padme smiled weakly as the children were placed in her arms, Luke and Leia. Relief washed over her, and with it, life. Knowing Anakin still lived, knowing hope remained, anchored her to the present. Anakin Skywalker survived as well. His body was broken, his limbs replaced with crude cybernetics, his skin scarred, but he lived. When he finally awoke, the weight of what he had done crushed him far more completely than any injury. Yoda, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan, and Bail Organa gathered to decide his fate. "He betrayed the Jedi Order," Windu said, unyielding. "Imprisonment is mercy." Padme's voice was quiet but fierce. "He has already lost everything." The room fell silent until Yoda spoke. "Exile," he said. "A chance for the Force to guide him back, or not. Choose his path, he must, alone." Anakin accepted the judgment without protest. He said goodbye to Padme in silence, to his children with tears he could not wipe away. Then he left, vanishing into the farthest reaches of the galaxy, a fallen knight carrying only guilt and the faintest hope of redemption. The Empire collapsed without its master. The Republic began its long recovery. Yoda and Windu withdrew from politics, determined to rebuild the Jedi Order free from corruption and fear. And Padme Amidala chose a quiet life, far from Coruscant, raising her children under open skies, where the Force flowed freely, and the future remained unwritten. The Sith were gone. Balance at last returned, not through conquest, but through compassion. And the Force endured. And that is where our story ends. I hope you enjoyed. Comment down below what you thought of the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. As always, may the Force be with you.